This is a perfect segue because now we're going to get into some differences of modern versus retro. Where do you want to start with this, Wes? We have a few different topics to discuss in this.
Mm. Differences between modern and retro. Well, okay. So for me, the one main difference that sticks out is on the modern games, everything it looks like ultra realistic. Like, for example, me and my wife were watching television and the commercial for Modern Warfare 2 came on and she thought it was a movie. I said, no, that's a game. She
Yeah,
was like,
dude,
oh, wow.
I just saw something on there and I was like, man, that looks. I was like, that looks really good. I double looked at it. I was like, is
Mhm.
that real or is that a game? And I was like, oh shit, that is a game. Like, oh my god.
Yeah, so that's where everything is going now to look as real as possible. Whereas retro or back in the day, it wasn't so much that it was, I don't want to call them cartoony graphics, but yeah, like we had Mortal Kombat, which would had the digitized characters and stuff, but it didn't look like now,
Right.
So I
And you
think
had a
that's
lot of people doing
yeah.
like chibi looking graphics and stuff
Hmm.
like that. That kind of art style, and you know, nothing's
Yeah.
gonna beat pixel art, man. Like pixel art looks so good. It looks so good. And they
It
designed it
does.
around like CRTs. That's so cool. Like when you play a pixel art game on a CRT and it looks better than on a modern TV, it's just nuts. But they knew what they were doing. They dealt with what they had.
Yeah. Hand drawn sprites. I miss that. I really do. Yeah, everything is there's no more of that. Where I mean, I have to say, and one of my favorite games was Cuphead, and just to see Cuphead running in that cartoony style, it blew my mind, and I loved every minute of it, as hard as it was.
That game was hard as hell.
But again, that goes back to the hand drawn, animation cells that we had in the 16-bit era.
Right. There's a really good contrast to this is have you played Bloodstained Ritual of the Night?
I had.
That game uses it's like 2.5D
Yep.
graphics, so it's not true like 2D pixel art. But if you look at that, Igarashi helped design that game, and he also was like the main creator back in Konami when they made Symphony of the Night.
Hmm.
Dude, Symphony of the Night uses legit pixel art in the 2D plane, and it
Hmm.
looks 1,000 times better than the 2.5D stuff you see in Ritual of the Night.
Oh, Symphony of the Night is gorgeous looking.
Yeah. And that stuff takes more time, it's more expensive. That's why people don't do it now. But it's like, man, Ritual of the Night sold pretty well. So I'm hoping like they have enough money where they're like, all right, let's just do it the way we're supposed to do it. Forget the 2.5D. Let's just do it on a 2D plane with real pixel art.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's one big difference for me is everything back then everything didn't have to look super ultra realistic.
No, I agree with that for sure. There are some exceptions. A lot of indie games have cool art styles and stuff like that, and they have to kind of stand out because they don't have the budgets to release some expensive AAA quality games to make it look the most realistic. So they really have to do different kinds of art styles to get noticed, and those things are always usually stand out a lot more than some of like the half-assed AAA games.
Which is fine, but like okay, so have you played Shadow Gangs?
No, no, I don't know what
It's
that is.
it's it's a 2D sprite drawn side scroller in the vein of Shinobi. And
Okay.
it's great. It's so good. And it didn't have to be like Call of Duty realistic looking. It didn't have to look like God of War. It's simple.
That's awesome. That reminds me of The Messenger. Have you played The Messenger?
I haven't done the Messenger.
Oh my god, you need to play The Messenger. Dude, it like flips its graphics to from 8-bit to 16-bit, and it looks incredible. Both versions. It's really cool. Please go check that out, Wes, as soon as you get a chance. It's probably like a $10 download. It's fantastic. Worth every
Okay,
penny.
definitely.
Imagine if they made a modern day Ninja Gaiden, but the retro style Ninja Gaiden.
Okay, I'm all about that.
Dude, so good. Another thing that's a pretty big difference is before we had, bring the arcade experience home. Now we have FPS and resolution. Nobody talks about bringing the arcade experience home because arcades kind of exist somewhat today, but there was like a 15 or 20-year period where they were just dead, and they sort of been brought back. But still, nobody talks about. You never hear, "Yo, that new Call of Duty, bring that arcade experience." You don't hear that no more. It's all about frames per second and the resolution.
Oh, without a doubt. It's arcades. I think arcades are done unless you find a retro arcade that has old school co-ops like Donkey Kong and Missile Command and stuff like that. The arcades now, they're all like prize games.
A
Like
lot of them are, yeah,
like Dave and Buster's, and you play to win prizes and stuff like that. It's not
yeah.
an
The
arcade,
redemption ones. There, yeah.
right?
You could. There's good barcades out there that you can go to. Or if you're in Vegas, there's like a Hall of Fame pinball
Yeah,
or something like
yeah.
that. Like that place looks pretty cool. We had a place in California that was awesome. It was called the Museum of Pinball, and that just closed like right around COVID time. And that guy had
Mm.
over 500 arcade cabinets and over 500 pinball machines. So that place was like extraordinary. But unfortunately, he sold off all his stuff and it's not there anymore.
Yeah, there's in Asbury Park, there's a pinball museum, and then we got a couple retro arcades down here where I am. One is Starcade, a bunch of pinball machines, a bunch of old school coin ops, you
Nice.
know, Killer Instinct, Mortal Kombat, Pac Man, Miss Pac Man, and then there's they just opened up one in the Showboat Casino called Lucky Snake, which has it's a good mix of old school pinball machines, like 50 pinball machines, a whole bunch of retro arcade games, but then they have like the new stuff, like the big sit down Halo games and the racing games, and then they got the redemption games, like you said. So, I mean, the look of the arcade has changed, and because of that, it's like you said, we no longer have that bring the arcade experience home. Like, we talked about good and bad arcade ports in one of our episodes, and we don't have that anymore.
No, but that's also because the arcade was like the standard, and now like the way everything's through computers, so it's all about the new God of War is supposed to be able to run at 120 frames per second, which is fantastic for a console game. But you need to have like the right TV, and you need to have the right setup to be able to do that. So it's more like computers than it's ever been before, and it's
Hmm.
more complicated than it's ever been before. But that's just another one of the differences we noticed. Another one was like headphones. I'm just going to touch on that briefly. Like nobody used to use headphones, man. Like
That's
I
for
know the
sure.
Genesis had like a headphone port. Nobody was using that shit back in the day. Now everybody uses headphones all the time for just about everything. I don't even like playing games without having headphones on, man.
Yeah, I to this day, and I don't really use the headphones. I mean, if I play the rare occasion I'll play online with somebody, I'll put my headphones on, but I don't play headphones. I don't use headphones.
I mean, I mostly play single player stuff, but the headphone just gives you, in my opinion, gives you like a better spatial awareness of where things are. Um, I can pinpoint things a lot quicker with headphones than with like surround sound or regular speakers.
Yeah, I just play my surround sound on and I'm good.
That works too. Another thing is the complexity of controllers. I'm sure you've seen the changes to that over time, Wes.
Oh my god, yes, I have. I you go from the Atari 2600 with the one joystick and one button,
Can you
and
imagine
over
play? Just imagine. Just
man,
can you? How are you going to play Call of Duty with the joystick and one button?
you can't.
I guess run and shoot. Like that's it.
You can't. It's just it's crazy. And it's as new systems came out, the controllers added more buttons and got more complex. Um, you know,
You went from a D-pad to two thumbsticks.
yeah.
Well, one thumbstick with the N64, and then you know. too with
But yeah,
PlayStation.
I was gonna say like you think about the layout of the N64 controller and all the buttons and everything.
That
That
controller
was
has like 15 or 16 buttons. That's
that was
complex.
complicated. I mean, we got used to it, but that was complicated.
Yeah, man. Well, everybody who first picked up that controller held it on the outsides. Everyone, the first time you pick it up, they hold it. You see the D pad, you're like, all right, outsides. They're like,
Yep.
no, no, it's not. It's like this. It's on the inside.
Nowadays we got just a standard PlayStation, Xbox controller. It's got like a whole bunch of buttons on it, and then and then the analogs click in, and they're considered buttons now. And
Yeah, that's a great point, man.
man, I mean, nothing beats Steel Battalion controller, but it's a long way from one button, one joystick.
Now that Steel Battalion controller is like worse than driving a car. It's like, here, listen, let me try to explain to you how this works and what you need. Here's the manual to the game. It's like,
Yeah, that's definitely a difference between retro and modern.
this is something that dates back quite a ways, but it's New Game Plus, and this is a feature that's just becoming more common. So this is a
Hmm.
difference because it was very uncommon, more of a niche sort of thing that certain games use, like Chrono Trigger. To now, it's in many, 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 many games. Wes, what's New Game Plus? How does it work? And do you use it?
Do I use it? Maybe, depending upon the game.
Okay,
But Game Plus was once you beat the game on, I think it would had to be like normal or higher. You unlocked another mode which kind of rearranged the game, made it a little bit more harder, and you can experience the game, that you just beat differently.
but you
Um,
usually start out with everything that the way you ended the game, the way your character was at the end of the
yep.
game is how you start the game. But like Wes said, it's typically harder because of that.
So I'm just trying to think like what games do I did it for Dead Rising, because I beat Dead Rising like multiple times, and then I always did the game plus, and I started the game with all my weapons, and but the game was the same. I just started at the level I ended the game with all my weapons. But I think God of War. See, I didn't do the God of War game plus because I know that was different.
I didn't check that one out either.
You know, um, again, it's turns up the difficulty a little bit, added a few different things, but it lets you experience the game slightly different. I don't know. How do you use it?
No, never, not once, never will.
No.
I
Once
don't.
you beat it, you're done.
I don't have any time, man. I platinum got going back to God of War. I platinum God of War. By the time I got done that platinum, I was so exhausted. I loved that game. By the time I got that platinum, I was like, I'm done. I don't want to see this game. I'm over it. Going through all the Valkyries, doing all that BS. Oh my god.
Oh, you're good because I couldn't beat all the Valkyries. I was like, I'm done. I'm good. I got close enough.
I love that. I love the game, and that's why I wanted to get the platinum. But by the time I got it all, after the grind of doing all that crap, I was just like, "There's no way I'm starting this game over. Not a
Oh
chance."
yeah, I hear you. I love God of War 2. Loved it. Every minute of it. That's why I'm so excited for the sequel. But yeah, no, once I beat it, I'm good. I may go back and do a few of the challenges and stuff, but I'm good. I just want to experience the story.
Me too. That's usually what Once I'm through it, I am on to the next thing. I was like, I got too much stuff to do with not enough time as it is. I'm not gonna replay a game. Not like when I was younger. Not the same.
Definitely not. Definitely not.